Here in this little bag I've got the successor of the famous VL1, the Casio VL-5. I guess it's from 1982 and was produced until 1983. It's like a polyphonic version of the VL1, with a slightly different sound, but unfortunately no synthesizer. And it's quite rare. Besides the VL1 and VL5, there's also a third model in the VL series, the VL10, which is just a smaller and functions-reduced version of the VL1. This one has also a calculator, but no synthesizer function. Just 3 sounds, no volume control, no octave switch, and no output or power jack. Here they are all together in a catalog from 1982. The VL5 was the most expensive back then, while the VL10 was the cheapest. But nowadays it's a very rare collector's item and much more expensive than the other two. If you take it exactly, there's a fourth model in this series, the very rare VL80 from 1981. This one is actually not a keyboard. It's a pocket calculator with the ability to play a simple melody, just like the Melody 80 from 1979, which I've talked about in my VL1 review. It should have the same sound chip as the VL1 and the same demo tune, a sequencer, a 1-key play button and a vibrato switch. I've read somewhere that it was also released with a Kraftwerk print on it, and Kraftwerk sold it in 1981 on their concerts, together with a single pocket calculator and a song sheet with a couple of Kraftwerk hits. I don't know if this one was really produced by Casio, or if Kraftwerk just put a sticker on it. It was quite expensive, they haven't sold a lot of them, so these are really rare and it's even hard to find some good pictures of it. But they haven't used this one on their record. They've used the Casio FX501P from 1979, in combination with an interface like the FA1. And the FX501P can be seen on the cover of the single and the tape. They used it along with some toy-like devices like the Bee Gees Rhythm Machine from 1978 and a stylophone. And the pocket calculator that can be seen in some of their live videos from 1981 isn't actually a calculator. It's a Texas Instruments language translator. Something similar to the well-known Speak and Spell.
That is correct.
And it was used for all the computer voices on the album. But however, this review isn't about Kraftwerk.
You are right.
Let's come back to the VL5. It's a little bit larger than the VL1 and has a few more keys, but the same volume, tempo and balance slider, a sequencer with autoplay and 1-key play buttons, and a display, but it has no calculator and therefore no synth. And unfortunately the octave switch is missing. But it has more preset sounds and 4-voice polyphony. I like it when a manual exaggerates so shamelessly. It says 10 catching preset sounds allow you to move throughout the whole spectrum of music from rock to classical. That sounds great. 8 rhythms playing with crisp, clear rhythmic backgrounds. We will check this later. A large headphone jack. That's nice. A mono output and a power jack. It also runs on 5 AA batteries. And a jack for the MS1 Barcode Reader Pen. The most interesting feature is perhaps the memory system. This pen can read barcodes that contain melody informations, which are then stored to the internal memory. But let's have a look inside first. This looks much different than the VL1. Way more complex. The speaker has its own weird-looking housing. It's because of the additional keys. There wasn't enough space left. But just like the VL1, the sound can be modulated with one hand on the speaker. A lot more ICs. And I can see 2 main chips. I guess because of the barcode reader and the memory system. Look at these wires over here. Looks a bit unusual. Some of them are wired directly to the IC pins. Looks almost as if a circuit bender was in here. This is one of the main chips. The other has a piece of tape on top. This is a static RAM chip. And this a 2-channel power amp that was also used in radios and tape recorders. These contacts look interesting. Haven't seen that before. I will clean it just a little bit. Just the top piece and the contacts. Take care of this little piece of plastic that's on top of the display. If you put it in the wrong way, the display is inverted. That's how it should look. And there's the P button. Push it in play or record mode after you have changed the batteries or connected a power adapter. Otherwise, the VL-5 might not work properly. There's also a tuning pot at the bottom side. You can tune it 50 cents up or down. Let's see how catching these presets really are. Set the main switch to play. The default sound is flute. A kind of medium catchy. The sounds are changed by using the first 10 white keys. It looks a bit as if it works like the rhythm selection on the VL-1, but it's a bit different. Switch the mode button from play to set. Now you can select a sound. You will hear each sound and see its number on the display. The second number stands for the currently selected rhythm. The last selected sound is automatically stored, and if you switch back to play mode, you can play the sound. This is called bagpipe, one of my favorites. And we see rock is possible. The sustain switch is nice. There are 4 tone memory banks to store sounds for quicker access. By default, the first 4 sounds are stored. Switch to set, select a bank, and choose a sound. The next sound is clarinet. Violin with sustain. I like this one, trumpet. Could also be a nice pad sound. The sound will be re-triggered if you hold down the keys and change the sound with the tone memory switch. Pipe organ. Harpsichord. It's really not easy to play on these tiny keys. Piano. Pretty. It's easy to slide over these tiny keys. With sustain. This sounds a bit like the fantasy preset of the VL-1. Funny. This should have been named Nasty, but I like it. I guess the manual was right. You can play everything, from rock to classical. Now let's hear the crisp, clear rhythms. The rhythm selection works the same way as the sound selection. Switch to set and select the rhythm. The rhythm will start, and you will see the corresponding number on the display. Switch back to play. Now you can start the rhythm by pressing the start-stop button. This is very cumbersome compared to the VL1, and you can't change the rhythm on the fly. The only advantage is that you can start a rhythm by pressing just a single key. But if you want to do a multi-track recording, you can record the rhythm track in set mode and switch between the patterns. The selected rhythm will not be started if the unit is turned off. And if you don't touch a key during 10 minutes or switch to MS mode, the rhythm will also be set to default. Let's move on to the sequencer. The VL-5 has two methods to store melodies. The first is the manual mode. Switch to record. This sequencer is quite similar to the one on the VL1, but it's a bit more advanced. It can store up to 240 steps and it has a few more functions. But you can't record your melody in one take anymore. You have to store the pitch of the notes first and record the length afterwards. Hold down Delete and press Reset to delete any previous recording. Type in a few notes. If you make a mistake, just press Delete and try again. You can see preset sound, step number and pitch on the display. At this moment we are just feeding in pitch information. It doesn't matter how long the keys are held. Switch back to play and press Reset to get to the beginning of the recording. If you want to play the melody with the one-key play buttons, you're done. Autoplay does also work, but the recording will be played back in eighth notes, according to the tempo. If you want different note values, you will need to re-record the sequence using the one-key play buttons. Switch back to record mode. You can repeat this as many times as necessary. But you can't play short notes. The sequencer always plays legato. That's where the rest button comes into play. Delete the previous recording and place a rest after each note. This is just an example, and as you can imagine, it fills up the sequencer very soon. Now you can decide how long each note should be. It might be easier to keep the timing with the rhythm. Did I play it that bad? However, I prefer not to use the one-key play buttons for this kind of sequences. Delete the recording again and try to program the sequence completely with rests included. This works only with eighth note sequences, but the result is very accurate. You can also insert a rhythm start point. Switch to record and press the gray rhythm button at the point the rhythm should start. Now the rhythm starts automatically. You can also play along with up to 2 voices. You can repeat the sequence as often as you want by pressing the repeat button before or during autoplay. The melody will be repeated the same number of times as the button is pressed. But this is next to useless. There's always a long break in between the loop. And you can't start the sequence manually again without stopping the rhythm. And it's the same with one-key play buttons. The rhythm will always stop when the start melody reaches the end. This is much better with the VL1. But I like the sequencer. It's a pity that I can't store chords, but I can program an arpeggio. And in combination with sustain, you can hear the advantage of the 4-note polyphony. We have seen that we can play 2 additional voices to the recording. That's great. But why can't we play 3 additional voices? Isn't the sequencer only monophonic? It's because of the sustain switch. The missing voice is reserved for the sequencer. Without at least 1 additional voice, sustain wouldn't sound right. Here's some more examples how you can use the sequencer. Play the melody with the 1 key play buttons and an accompaniment with the left hand. The 1 key play buttons are very handy when it comes to legato melodies. Or play everything with just 1 hand. Now let's have a look at the second storing method, the memory system and the barcode reader. The reader pen consists of an infrared LED and a photodiode. There are separate barcode sheets with different numbers of lines for pitch, length and chord informations. The VL-5 is one of only 4 Casio keyboards with a barcode reader, but the only one that can't play back accompaniment chords, so the chord barcodes won't work. The other 3 barcode reader keyboards are the Casio Tone 701, the MT70 and its bigger brother, the Casio Tone 501, about which I will do a special review, because these devices have another interesting feature in common. This is the first pitch line of House of the Rising Sun. I will zoom in a bit so we can have a closer look. The barcode represents a binary code. The pen is sending out infrared light that is reflected by the white and not reflected by the black bars. Every bar, black or white, represents a bit. A narrow bar means 0 and a wide bar means 1. The wide bars should have 2.5 times the width of the narrow ones. The overall size can vary as long as the ratio stays the same. Every line starts with the same 8-bit pattern. It indicates the beginning of the line. It's followed by 4 bits that show the line number. The next 4 bits are only contained in the first line, and they show the line type, pitch, length or chord. In this case, it's a pitch line. The actual data is coded in 8-bit patterns that represent notes, rests or control commands like rhythm start. The data is followed by a 5-bit trailer that indicates the end of the line, and a 4-bit checksum to make sure that the line has been read correctly. There could be a few 0 bars at the end, just to make sure that all the lines have the same length. If we have a look at the full line, we can see that it contains only the first 3 beats of the first bar. A lot of lines have to be scanned for a complex piece of music, so I think this concept works best with short tunes. Connect the barcode reader and choose a barcode score. I don't own the original manual, but I think this copy will do the job as well. As I said, the VL-5 can't play back chords, so we are left with the melody only. Switch to MS. The display should look like this. I will start with pitch, but you can also start with length if you like. Place the sheet on a flat surface. Don't try to scan it while holding it in your hand. Now comes the tricky part. Move the reader from left to right in one smooth, continuous sweep. If the code was scanned correctly, you hear this pleasant sound, and you can see a P and the number of the scanned line on the display. Don't use any pressure or move the pen too far away from the paper. The right speed is important. Not too slow and not too fast. About 1 second for each line. Believe me, if you have unsuccessfully tried as many times as I did, you will find this sound very pleasant. If the scan failed, you will hear this horrible gong sound. And you will see an E for error on the display. Try again. Move on until the last line. If the scan is complete, the display looks like this again. This was a fast one. My first scan took about 2 minutes. We are just half the way through. But if you want to play the melody with the 1 key play buttons, you don't need to scan the length barcodes. Switch back to play. There are some informations about speed, style and instrument on the score sheet, because these informations are not contained in the barcodes. Select the right rhythm. Slow rock. Make it a bit slower and choose trumpet. And try to play it with the 1 key play buttons. Of course, autoplay doesn't work correctly. We need the second sheet for that. If the line is scanned correctly, you will see an L on the display. If you're done, the display should look like this again. Switch back to play and adjust the rhythm again. This sounds correct. If you want to hear the full song, you should watch my last video. Disconnect the reader pen to save battery power. And by the way, the melody will be stored if you turn off the unit. Try it with another sound. And a bit slower. You can follow the steps on the display or play along. Of course, you can change the melody if you like to, or change the starting point of the rhythm, for example. Just switch the record and navigate through the steps with the forward button, and delete or insert a note, a rest, or a rhythm starting point. You can put in as much starting points as you like, but the rhythm will only start once. You can use the one key play buttons to navigate through the steps as well. In this case, you also hear the notes. That could be easier. But then the timing will be changed, and you have to record it again if you want to use autoplay. If your barcode reader is lost, or if you can't read out the barcodes properly, you can also use these numbers to save the melody in manual mode. This version isn't very impressive, and like most of the barcode songs, it's quite short. And it takes quite a lot of time to scan all the lines, especially if you're not experienced. And it isn't surprising that Casio introduced the ROM packs in 1983. After only 4 keyboards with a barcode reader. The ROM packs can contain a lot of songs with more complex arrangements, and loading them is a breeze. At the beginning I thought the barcode sheets have one big advantage over the ROM packs. They are easy to copy. And that's true. But although a lot of barcode songbooks were produced, I can't find any copy on the internet. They are much harder to find than the ROM packs. So let's try to make some own music. I don't think this keyboard was a big success, at least compared to the VL-1. They took it off the market already in 1983, while the VL-1 was produced until 1984. But I was pretty excited when I got this one, because I thought it must be somehow an advanced VL-1. I knew that it isn't a synth, but it has 10 sounds, and especially the presets Funny and Pretty caught my interest. Because usually these are the most exciting sounds on a keyboard this size. The sounds they couldn't find a proper name for, which are somehow special and not just an attempt to recreate existing instruments. And although I like most of the sounds, I was a bit disappointed. The sounds are harsh or dull and very static. The vibrato and tremolo is missing. The 4-voice polyphony is nice. And I like the sequencer. The barcode reader is just a gimmick. I will have to try it on another model. However, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.